Nu skal det handle om et dansk strategispil. Jeg er her til Gamescom i Tyskland, og jeg har fået en snak med en af udviklerne bag Expeditions Viking. Og faktisk for at tage sådan en lidt anderledes twist på det, end vi plejer at gøre, for normalvis er den bare sådan et standard udviklersreview, eller også er det hands-on. Men den her gang, der har jeg faktisk fået en lille fremvisning af ham, og få ham til at ligesom vise spillet frem og vise, hvordan det er. Og den præsentation, den kan du se lige her.
Your legacy will live for 1,000 years beyond your time. Our clan must prevail.
So basically, the principle of the game is that you as the player start by creating your own character, and you've just inherited the leadership of a very small Viking village. The village is not very strong, it's not very wealthy, and it's considered to be weak by your neighbors. So the first thing you have to do as a player is, as your mother tells you in the trailer, is gather your most trusted allies and start consolidating your strength so that you can move further outside of the Norse land to go raiding, trading, and establishing trade routes, etc., to increase the wealth and power of your clan. So where we are in the game right now, for the demo, is we are in this world map or region map, which is for England. And this is part of the second campaign. So after you've consolidated your strength in the initial area, what you'll do is you'll then be able to start raiding, and for this game that will be in England and Scotland. And when you come here, what you'll see is different cities with their basic, or not basic, but with their old names, and then of course a little bit of information about where they actually are nowadays. And what I've set up for this build to show you is a little bit about how the camping system works. So this big icon here is it represents your party, and then surrounding it, whenever you stop, there'll be a camp button that you press, and whenever you stop to make camp, you see these different camp areas are generated, and they're generated randomly. And they have 3 different statistics that are used to grade them. They're ranked from 1 to 5, 5 being the best, 1 being the worst. And the first one is security, how exposed the campsite is, making it easier to attack or be stolen from, and a higher score means it's more secure. So this one has a 5, that's really good for security. The second one is shelter, and it's basically how good of a resting area it actually is. So the higher it is, the better it is. This has got a 2, so it's actually not very good. But as you can see from the other randomly generated ones, 2 is the highest that we've got. So it's actually high comparatively to the other ones. And then the final one here is food, and this just tells you how plentiful food is in the area, game and whatnot. Food. So if you send your hunters out to hunt during the camping session, you'll get more food if it's above 3 and less food if it's below 3, and 3 will be sort of just average. So what I'll do is I will select that particular campsite, and we'll go now into this camping scene. And you can see here, you got your all of your camp characters. All of the members of your party are seen here. And then in the top left side, you can see in the interface, we have all of them listed with their portraits. When you go camping, it's a 12-hour camping session, and each session is split up into 3-hour shifts. So there's 4 3-hour shifts that you can then assign each member of your party to do different tasks in. And they affect the different things the different things that you can do, and of course the outcomes are resulted on what you decide to set them up to do on their tasks. So Cadel here, who is our hunter, has a rank 5 of hunting skill, again 5 being the highest rank. And Cadel, if we set him to hunt, you'll see down in the very bottom of the screen, hunting goes from 0% to 95%. And what that basically means is because his rank is so high, it's 5, if I assign anybody else to this, like say Celia for example, who has rank 3, there's no change in the hunting, because 5 is really the best that you can get. So once he's done that, we don't really have to worry about hunting anymore. If we're going to be successful in hunting tonight, he's definitely going to get it. Then one of the mechanics we have in the game is that when you go hunting and gather meat, you feed your party, and then you can often have leftover meat. That meat will spoil in a short period of time. So what we can do is we can set him to preserve as one of the other tasks, and that will transfer any of the remaining meat after we have dinner into rations. And here I can show you just a little bit of the food allocation. There's a nice auto allocate new meat button. You can go through and allocate a ranking of who's going to eat meat first and all that sort of stuff if you'd like. But we have this auto allocation tool because we want to expedite the process for people if they don't want to micromanage those particular elements of the mechanics. And then you can select sort of a drop down of tiers of who prioritizes first. So is it the strongest warriors? Is it the most loyal members? Is it the healthiest people or the weakest in your party? I'll just select best fighters for fun this time. Then the last thing I want to show you about Cadel is that after I've set him up to go hunting and to do some preserving, I need to let him rest. And for a unit, like a character who is tired or who's about to become tired, to reduce that exhaustion to not be exhausted and be normal or rested, you have to rest for 2 consecutive shifts. So that can be the first 2, the middle 2, or the last 2, but if you piggyback any of them, then they won't be rested and they'll actually start gathering these exhaustion penalties, which are going to reduce the scores of their statistics, and increasingly so until it's so bad that you'll be in quite a lot of trouble. Okay, the next thing I want to show you is the player character. And the player character in this particular case, it is a customizable character. You'll be able to pick their appearance and allocate their XP into different skills and statistics as you choose. And he is particularly good at guarding. We've got a rank 5 guarding skill on our player character. And you might notice down here that it only put it at 23.75%. Now that actually is 95%, but it's 95% of 25%, because you need to guard on every shift. Otherwise, you don't have anybody guarding on these extra shifts. Like, I can't guard for 3 hours and then be safe for the next 9. You know what I mean? So I'll set him up to guard 2 times, and then again I need to rest him. So I'll leave him with these 2 shifts here. Celia is our shield maiden, and I'm going to show you something about the healing with her because she has a high healing skill. But first I'm going to show you why you need to use healing. So Thor Leaf here, Oathbreaker, he has a light infection of the groin, and what that means, yes, they can have them all over their body. And what that means is that Thorleaf will have a reduced number of abilities during camp, as well as penalties to his statistics for other things, combat and other things. So what you can see here is that Thorleaf is unable to hunt or scout. He's unable to craft, repair, or heal. He can do a few other things though. Rest, guard, he's got a very low rank of guard, preserve, pretty good, but we've already got Cadel doing that. So what I'm going to set him up for is witchcraft. Witchcraft determines the amount of herbs converted to medicine, and instead of calling it herbalism, we decided to call it witchcraft because of the idea that, in the Viking age, the creation of medicines would have a somewhat of a mystical quality to it, and there would be ritual combined with actual action. And so, in the mind of a Viking, medicine has these sort of almost mystical properties, and so to create medicine would be in some form of witchcraft. Or at least that's the way we're going with it. Now, I've got one more shift for him to do, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set him to guard on the last shift. He has a very low guard skill, so you can see it actually increased not very much, right, from 47.5 to just 54, because he's only got a rank 1. Now I'll show you the healing skill. She's got a rank 5 healing skill, Celia, and what we've done is we've created a little mock-up screen for you, a small window, just to show you a bunch of different injuries that you could get. Some of them are combat-based, some of them are from other things like infection or sickness, that sort of a disease. And when you have an injury, it affects one of your traits. So it affects, for example, injuries to the head affects sense, to the eyes perception, chest and gut affect endurance, and the groin affects finesse. And each of these are the different character skills or abilities, sorry, and they're used to calculate the different things that happen in combat. Things like damage, hit chances. Also, when we do other checks, you know, rolls to see if a character is able to perceive something in a random event. That sort of stuff all comes out of, can get reduced by having their core traits deterred. And then finally I've got, okay, so I need to actually set her maybe to guard as well. And you see that boosted it up nicely because she has a rank 3. And then Ulf here, we'll set him up in the 3rd shift because we don't have anybody guarding yet. In the 3rd shift, we'll set him to guard, and why not just maybe guard again. Okay, so now we've got an 87.25% chance of successfully guarding for the entire night, 95 for hunting. We don't have any meat yet, as you can see in the top corner, but once we go hunting, there will be some that for Cato to preserve. And then witchcraft, we're going to convert 8 or 9 herbs into medicine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit make camp. And as you can see, we have this time lapse going by. And in the bottom left corner of the screen, we have the player's log, which gives you a readout of the various successes and failures that have happened in each shift for each of the tasks that we've assigned. So, as the sun begins to rise, so now what's happened here is this is a random encounter. So an event has occurred. There's lots, like I said before, there's lots of skill checks, or not skill checks, but checks that happen throughout the game that certain different types of events can occur. Some of them are storylines, some of them are random, some of them are injuries, some of them, you know, there's all sorts of different kinds. And basically, what we'll do is we'll have to send somebody out to investigate. The noise, there's this conversation that we can hear going off in the distance, and when Cato scoots out of there, he soon returns with some intel for us. He tells us that 6 Mercians, dressed poorly but armed, are walking right towards us, but they don't know that we're here. And then now, as the player, we're charged with 3 choices. What do we want to do? Do we want to pick up all our gear and run before they're upon us? Probably not, because we're Vikings, we want to fight. So I'm going to select maybe this one. Grab your weapons and prepare yourself. We can't let them see us and return alive. We need the element of surprise for tomorrow. Foreshadowing that this event happens while you're on the way to do something else. And if any of these people are to survive, enemies are to survive the event, they might warn people in advance of your approaching, and they'll be more heavily defended by the time you arrive there. So what happens, we spread out in the hopes of forcing them to split up. Within minutes, a group of rugged men appear between the trees at the far edge of the clearing. At the sight of our camp, they hesitate for a long moment, exchanging glances. Then they seem to come to a silent agreement and draw their swords, thus taking us to combat. So here we're looking at the exact same camping scene that we were looking at before, but just from an above camera, and we've now projected the hex grid onto the level so that we can see our characters' movement abilities. So we've split up. So you can see we've got a couple of characters here down in the camp. 2 of them are up here with these other enemies, and one of them is caught out amongst all of these guys. I'm going to bring him back. I also want to show you something. If you start your turn, or at some point in your turn, leave a character adjacent to an enemy character, and then move your player, the enemy gets an attack of opportunity. And so that means that they get a free strike on us. But I just felt like that attack of opportunity was a little bit better than staying there, getting 1 hit on this guy, and then having these 3 or 4 units surround me and just beat me. Okay, I'm going to draw the rest of our characters that are a little far away. I'm going to pull them back towards the campsite. This way, hopefully, I'll consolidate my forces and be able to protect. They'll be able to protect each other a little bit better. So I'm going to end my turn now. The enemy's going to move in. Great. So we're almost ready.
Dear visitors, please be careful with your valuables. Thank you.
Now Thorleif is a bit injured, so I'm actually going to take him as far back as I can. And then I'm going to set up a little bit of a defensive zone here with my different characters. So here we go. Let's see what happens. Okay, so now our enemies are within range of combat, so we're going to start using some of our combat skills. All characters, no matter what they're equipped with, can have a regular attack, and you can just click on an enemy and do that, or you can use some of their combat skills. Celia has 2 of them here, double feint, which is a 3 attack, 50% damage for each attack, with 50% chance of blinding the target for 2 turns. So that's a pretty good one. I think I'll try that on bandit number 1 over here. Okay, 71 damage, pretty good. Not quite enough to finish him off. Let's see if we can do that. And I'm just going to, this is a bit silly strategically, but I'm doing it just so I can show you one thing. Before, this is really the last thing I want to show you in the build, which is our cinematic camera. So that's our kill cam. So that seems like a really good time to finish off. I've actually showed you all the features of the build, and so just to sort of wrap up, the reason that we're doing these cinematic cameras is in part to change the viewing angle the player has of the world, to give them a much more vibrant view of the world, but also to get in on the combat and have a little bit more of a visceral experience. Kill cams will be different based on the weapon types. There'll be different kinds of animations, as well as something we're working on right now is decapitations and dismemberment and stuff like that.
Men det var så sådan cirka 15 herlige minutter i selskab med det spil. Hvad synes du om det? Skriv din mening lige under i kommentarfeltet. Og giv os et like, hvis du kunne lide det. Og fortæl, om du synes, det her format af indslag er federe. Om du går lidt mere i dybden med det og får noget mere information ud af det. Skriv din mening herunder. Og husk som altid, at du kan se meget mere fra Gamescom på vores Gamescom-side ved at klikke hernede under indslaget, eller ved at gå ind på Pixel.tvArkivet. Vi ses.